Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of Bass Week, exploring tracks with excellent bass work, technicality, presence, tone, etc. Today we're going to be looking at a band called Lightning Bolt. I don't know what to expect, but the album art here is making me think, something extreme. But let's get into it. Check out the track Over the River and Through the Woods. Really dry snare tone. Just this consistent rising idea. Vocals are heavily compressed and reside in the backgrounds. The bass tone's real big, really filling in this low ends. It's even kind of clipping, but the whole song's kind of produced aiming for that lo-fi sound, so yeah, this is a really solid example of the bass tone. Interesting, we still have this rising idea. This whole song has this vibe of ascension to it, or cyclical ascension. Also, is there an accelerando going on? It feels like we're getting faster, but it's so minute I can't tell. very tight drumming style, and having that dry production on it with the snare turned off really elevates the rhythmic elements of the drums. Each hit is isolated upon itself. So, long time viewers will know at the end of a video, to be like, all right, he said it for me. I'm really curious. I just noticed that this is not on an official channel, but that there is a lightning bolt topic, and I'm kind of going to be upset a little bit. Oh, snap, there's an audio tree performance of this. Now, it's not what was given to me, and it was also 10 minutes. But there is a topic here. I'm going to put this on real quick, and I want to hear if there's any production difference, because I heard most of the song. I'm not going to say that any compression, if there was any, ruined my understanding of what was on the paper. But I'm going to see if there is a difference in the sonic element here. Oh, this is quite a bit. Yeah. I'm going to skip forward a little bit again. And once again to the ending. Yeah, so I did a little bit of a disservice not vetting that properly, and just grabbing the link that was given to me rather than looking for an official version. There is a bit of compression on the version we listened to that erases a bit of the bass presence. The bass was already very large and big, but it undersells what the original vision was, which is this massive bass sound. Because the whole time I was listening to it, I was like, okay, the bass is present. It's a big sound. The bass isn't doing anything intricate, but that isn't the purpose of the week. We're not looking for the most complex bass work. We're just looking for bass features. And this is definitely a track where the bass is featured prominently in the mix. It's a production feature more so than a technical one. And I'm actually really happy we're getting a nice 50-50 on this week. See, Rush was another one where it was featured primarily production-wise, and then we had Unexpect and Jacko, and kind of honorarily First Fragment, just kind of lined up in the right week for it on a bit more of the technical aspect of it. So it's been nice 50-50 so far. I'm interested to see where we go tomorrow, which way we balance this if we continue to well, we can't have well, we could actually if we include First Fragment in here honorarily as part of Base Week. And we have another production-based feature tomorrow. We'll have a nice 50-50 on that, but we'll get there when we get there. But this is a really nice production style here, where we feature the bass as this massive instrument underneath the guitar and drums. It is not doing anything hyper intricate. It's not complex in the performance, it's not complex in what's on music, but it is very much in the spotlight on this track, and I really dig it. It is too big of a bass tone, I think, for me to enjoy all the time, but on occasion, in isolation, just like, yes, dude, bassist, whoever you are, get it. You're in the spotlight, you've got this massive, disgusting tone underneath everything, and just, you're killing it. You really are. And yeah, I'm glad I checked this out too, because I was going to pause the video and look at the personnel list here, because I was wondering if maybe we had a bassist with an octave pedal playing some of the higher end stuff, because I did have a tough time hearing the bass through a lot of that one. So I'm glad I checked this out. I'm like, oh, so the bass is there. It's really prominent actually in the mix. And YouTube's compression just absolutely destroyed it. And I don't know where the original source was either. The person who uploaded it could have had a bad MP3 of it, could have had a super compressed MP3, and then YouTube compressed on top of that. It's a lot of things that can go into that. But yeah, I've got a gist of it from this official source here. Another small band though, only 4,000 subscribers. Well, 3.7 thousand subscribers on their official topic channel, which, as I've mentioned before, isn't a great signifier, but it is something. This song only has 26,000 views in 7 years, which is not phenomenal, but it makes me think that they're not a super small band. They're just niche. All right, let's get into this deconstruction here. This song moves between three ideas. It is relatively simple. For about 3.5 minutes or so, we just have this do 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 over and over and over, and it is a unified attack of this rising ascension of the guitar and the bass. Now, against that though is this highly infectious rhythmic explosion coming out from the drums. It is just bonkers. It is all over the place, and it's very in your face too. It's a very dry drum sound, not only in the production, which does just not have a lot of punch to it. It sounds like a when I say dry in recording terms, like there's no extra production being put on it. It's recorded, and pretty much what the recording is sounds like what we're getting here. It doesn't have any of the extra compression that would normally be put on it. It doesn't have any of the extra oomph, any of the EQ. And even here, it sounds a bit overpowering compared to the guitar and bass, and that could also be a little bit of this raw production style where it isn't exactly reproduced or it's not produced or EQ'd or modified to fit in with what's going on around it. It's a very dry sound. The volume that it was recorded at is the volume that we're getting here, and so it's very overpowering. It's very raw as well. It just sounds a bit underproduced, but of course that's what they're going for. The bass is very overproduced in a way. Maybe not necessarily on the engineering side, but from the bassist side, in the way that they craft their sound with all the pedals they have and all that. It's very raw, is what ends up. It's a very powerful, gritty, dirty sound, and the drums kind of have that in a different manner. It's dirty and gritty in the fact that there's very little done to polish the sound up. It's just sort of a raw recording of it. But it's this infectious beats. It almost sounds, what is that electronic style that is just always like the tempo's high, and it's usually this very quick dance between the hi-hat and the bass and the drums. and it's like boom boom ga boom ga boom boom ga boom ga. It's just like always moving, always shifting to something else. My brain's saying breakbeat, but like I don't know if that's accurate. Electronic music is this whole other beast. I'm finally starting to get a grasp on metal. I'll get to electronic eventually. But that's what this feels like to me. It's that very forward moving, tons of momentum, fast tempo, constantly shifting drum style. We don't really stick on one instrument. Well, here's the interesting thing, right? When I think of that electronic sound, I think it's hi-hat heavy. The bass and the kick are there to accent beats, and they have syncopation based on that, but the hi-hat is what's played the most. It's like constant eighth notes, constant 16th notes, where our accent pattern comes from our two lower end hits. This is kind of the opposite, where I feel like the snare is constantly played and the bass kick and the cymbal work is what accents. And it comes off as very aggressive, especially when you realize that the snare is turned off, which means that the beads on the bottom of the drum are lax and they're not put up against the bottom. I need to look this up eventually. I keep telling myself I'm going to, but I think that there's a second drum head on the bottom of a snare. How does a snare work? I'll look that up later. I'll put the tab there for me now. I think there's a second drum head though, or something that there's a string of beads, several strings of beads, and when you hit the snare and the vibrations push through it, it rumbles the beads underneath, and you get that rattling sound. Um, how does that a snare trap? No, I need a snare drum. Oh, there is a bottom drum head. I was gonna do this later, but the answer is right here. I don't even have to look. There's a second drum head on the bottom, and oh, there's actually lots of really different ways to tune a snare drum. I'm going to get educated later. Anyways, though, that's what creates the rattle, is these beads vibrating loosely against this the second drum head on the bottom of the snare. And there is a latch or a knob or something that puts slack on the string, so the beads when they vibrate, they don't hit the drum head, so you don't get the rattle. You just get the crack of hitting the top drum head with your drumstick. And that's what you're going for here. The snare's turned off. It's just this very dry sound. We don't have the rattle, right? Physically, it's a dry sound. You get the crack, and then that's it. And then you also have the dry production, the very raw production on it as well. And it just comes off as a very aggressive drum sound because of that. None of the elements are rounded off. None of the harsher sounds are rounded off. We don't have that nice rattle that goes with it. It is just, it sounds like hitting a trash can. It's very loud. It's EQ'd way up. No, it's balanced way up. It's louder than everything else on the the performance, at least in the version I listened to. I forgot to listen to that when we checked out the official one, but it's a very loud drum, right? I don't think that's going to change when I listen to the lesser compressed version. And it's very in your face, very aggressive, very forward pushing, and it runs very interestingly, or it creates friction against the bass and the guitar, which are just this very rigid, rising, escalating sound. Granted, the bass has this really big sound underneath, but they're using the same idea. They just have a different timbre. And so the song almost feels stacked like this. We have the bass filling out the low end, we have the guitar kind of in this mid range, and then the snare isn't pitched higher, but it is placed above everything. It has a spotlight, it is louder than everything else. It is more energetic, there are more notes from the drums. It is just a ton of energy, and the rising idea pushes this energy forward, right? We're not descending, we're not slowing down, we're constantly rising. And even at one point, it felt like we were doing an accelerando. I'm still not sure if we were. An accelerando is just a gradual increase in tempo. So we have this energy that feels like it's always moving up, always growing, always expanding. It feels even like the tempo is growing over time. That's the whole opening 3 minutes of this track. Now, that's not the whole song, no, that's just most of it. We do enter a part where we kind of relax a little bit. And for some reason, I just remembered yesterday there was something in the drums I wanted to talk about, and it was very cool. And I'm kind of sad I didn't get to talk about it. I mentioned it, I think, during the reaction. Anyways, things kind of cool down a little bit with the drums. They kind of chill out. But we don't lose that forward momentum in the instruments. They continue this rising pattern. And what's interesting is that we stop doing the cycle. That ba 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 bum ba 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 bum ba 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 bum, always returning back to that home. We start doing these. Well, we change the first note, which to me feels like a key shift, but doesn't necessarily mean we are, because that would mean we're key shifting every repetition of this phrase, but that'd be ridiculous, especially since we do return back down to it, because we bump it up a third, I think, and then something else, and we come back down to the third and back down to the root. So we have this rising idea that feels like we're rising, but then we rise by lowering the pitch. Right? We lower the starting pitch, but we still have this rising idea. And we lower the starting pitch again, we still have this rising idea. And this is the beginning of the descent, right? We have this rising and falling idea. The musical concept is constantly rising, but where if we look at the four notes as a whole, we start somewhere, we go up a bit, we go up a bit, we come back down, we return back home. We have a rising and falling, even though the notes themselves are constantly rising. And this actually gives way for the ending, which brings back a lot of the intensity in the drum work. It brings back this massive bass tone, but we have a dissension of notes where we start from a higher note and start to come down. And I have no idea what any of this means. Over the river and through the woods. I don't remember hearing words in this track. Well, let me take that back. I don't remember hearing singing. There were rogue words, one or two words every once in a while. But they weren't really doing anything. They were just like super in the background. I don't even remember. It could have just been noises for all I know. They just weren't prominent. If it was singing, I didn't hear melodic ideas. If it was spoken word, it was like so far in the background. I don't know. But like just the title of the track, Over the River and Through the Woods, it's very fairy tale like. I'm trying to figure out what is the point of constant ascension and descension, and then straight descent. What would any of this mean? Over the river and through the woods? Is that, I don't know. I'm is that Goldilocks or is that Red Riding Hood? Over the river and through the woods. I don't know. This whole song is just very noisy though, with this one motif and a variation on it. And just like I said, noise though, that's the thing. I think you have to really be in the mood for this, and I don't know that I was to enjoy it, but I'm very intrigued by what they're going for. I'm glad that there was some break to the repetition in the middle, and the ending was just huge. That was a really nice way to end this track, but honestly, that's really my read on it is, hey, look at what they did. Here's an interpretation of some patterns. Here are some patterns I saw that you might not have picked up on. I'm pretty sure you picked up on the noise. I'm pretty sure you picked up on the big bass tone and the energetic drumming. But the rising and falling pattern is what really stands out to me, and it tells a story, but it's so vague it could tell so many stories, and I don't know how to tie any of that together. So I guess that's my read of it. It's a noisy song that has positivity possibly, and then cycles of positivity, negativity, and then ending with dissent, right? With negativity. I I don't know. Let's move on to the lyrics. Yeah, this didn't help. There is a lot of lyrics here that I don't know what I was dead. Wait, they have a track called Dead Cow. Have we had Lightning Bolt on the channel before? Oh, we actually had the song Dead Cowboy. This is a two-person project. I mean, I don't want to say that makes sense, but assuming they play live and it's just the two of them. What week was this? Oh, this was for Pure Chaos week. Assuming they play this live, though, the music has to be a bit simple as there's four parts for two people to do. And the drumming is a one-person idea. So is this a drummer and a pianist? Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Lyrics, what is this about? um, the opening just says, I want your face, I want your face, I want your face, ha ha ha. I'm going to assume that's laughter, but what's interesting is that we invert this. Instead of three I want your faces and a laugh, we have one I want your face and three laughs. And I don't remember any of this. Like, I can't recall this at all in the song. But I already mentioned that I didn't really hear much vocal work, whether it's speech or singing. And what I did hear was really shoved into the background. Just the music overwhelmed it and engulfed it. So we have the narrator or the first person goal. I want your face. In the next stanza, we shift to possibly the second person goal. You want to break down our world. Our world, sort of a third person view here, will shred you to tears or to tears. Shred you to tears makes more sense than tears, but it's also a very odd phrase, shred to tears. And he says, ha ha, I want your face. And basically, these three ideas, I want, you want, and what our world will do, consistently show up in various patterns for the rest of this song. For instance, one stanza says, you, I want your face. You want to break down our world will shred you to tears. You really want to break it, to break down our world, but we get something new here. It says, you, when you die, they'll come on down. And this instance brings up a new final stanza. It's the first time we've really heard a new concept here, other than that one line. When you die, they'll come on down. Which I don't know what that means. But to finish out the song, I'm going to assume, I don't know when this stanza came in, says, when you come, when you die, when they take all you left behind, you and your soul, you will pay. When the lions die, we're coming down, we'll come to destroy you. All right. And I have no idea what any of this is about. We have, I don't even know if they're opposing ideas. Somebody wants to break down a world, and if they do that, then the world will shred you to tears. And then our narrator wants the second person's face, and there's some anger here. When you die, you and your soul will pay. We're coming down to destroy you. Like, I don't know. It's all very, it's vague. There's a whole like four lines to 90% of the lyrics, and then a twist at the end that kind of, at least for me, shows some animosity that you'll pay with your soul. Like maybe there was some wrongdoing on the narrator, but there's no extra context to know what any of this is supposed to mean. I don't know. It's sort of just as noisy as the song. A lot of repetition, just like the song, and not a lot of context, just like the song. I have no idea what the rising and falling patterns mean in the track. They don't really have anything to pair them well, pair them too well in the lyrics. I'm going to stop it here because right now I think I'm just repeating myself. I've said several times I don't know what's going on. I can see the details. I don't know what they make in the larger picture. So, those are my thoughts on lightning bolts over the river and through the woods. What did you think? Do you have any extra insight on this? Do you think I was close and maybe you have some extra info to help guide me in the right direction? Maybe you have a different perspective on it entirely. Let me know down in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. It takes you to this place. You can find my music in there, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. Alright, we have a special selection coming up next. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to wrap this week up with our final bass week, our bass week track, our final song with excellent bass work, and our final special selection and a creator request as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.